You answered the phone on a Tuesday night when you had nothing left. You were already tired, the kind of tired that sits behind your eyes and doesn't go away with sleep. So you always show up. No one asked if you were okay first. It didn't occur to them to ask, because you're the strong one. You made yourself useful before you made yourself honest. You said I'm fine before anyone had a chance to wonder if you weren't. And somewhere in the back of your mind, behind the logistics and the problem solving and the steady voice, there was a quiet part of you that thought, you are the one people call, not because you asked to be, but because somewhere along the way, you became reliable in a way that felt less like a gift and more like an assignment. The one who stays calm in the emergency, who researches the doctors, who remembers what everyone needs before they remember to say it out loud. You carry the invisible weight, the worrying that gets done before the problem surfaces, the mental checklist that runs in the background of every conversation. You're already 3 steps ahead of the crisis because you cannot afford to be caught off guard. Being caught off guard means someone falls, and if someone falls, you catch them. That's just the math of your life. People describe you as capable, dependable, and part of you has grown to wear those words like armor, because they aren't wrong. You have been those things for so long that you've nearly forgotten you became them on purpose, back when you had no other option. What they don't see is what it costs, the exhaustion that lives below the surface and never quite surfaces, because there's always the next thing, the loneliness of being the one everyone leans on, and the way that loneliness is somehow lonelier, because from the outside, the way you lie awake at night quietly processing what everyone else got to let go of the moment they hung up the phone, the way strong has started to feel less like who you are. You help, you hold, you carry, and when someone asks how you're doing, really doing, something in your chest tightens and you smile and you say, "Oh, I'm fine," because the alternative, actually answering, feels like a door you don't know what's behind. If any of this sounds familiar, drop a 1 in the comments. You'd be surprised how many women are reading this right now thinking the exact same thing. What you're experiencing has a name. Psychologists call it compulsive self-reliance, a pattern first identified by attachment theorist John Bowlby to describe people who, early in life, learned that depending on others was either unsafe or unavailable, so they stopped. But over time, this is different from simply being independent or capable. Compulsive self-reliance isn't a preference, it's a strategy, a deeply learned response to an environment where needing things led to disappointment or burden or abandonment, where the message, spoken or unspoken, was, you are more valuable when you are useful than when you are vulnerable. Researcher Brené Brown found that women who occupy caretaking roles often internalize a particular double bind. They are praised for being strong, but receive no language, so the cost stays invisible, paid quietly in private over years. The result is a woman who has become genuinely skilled at holding things together and genuinely unfamiliar with what it feels like to put something down. Think back to before this was automatic. There was a version of you that didn't know how to manage everyone's feelings, a younger version, and somewhere in that room, you noticed something. Maybe the adults around you were unstable, overwhelmed, unpredictable, or simply unavailable. Maybe one parent was struggling and the other was absent, and the air in the house had a particular charge to it, the kind you learned to read before you had words for what you were reading. Maybe the sadness or the anger or the anxiety in the room was just there, large and unaddressed, and you discovered that if you were good enough, steady enough, or maybe it was simpler than that, maybe you were the oldest, or the one everyone said was so mature for her age. Maybe you got praised for being capable and learned without anyone explaining it, that capability was the currency that bought you safety and belonging. The child's logic was completely correct. You were reading the room accurately with the information available to a child. If being strong kept the peace, you were strong. If being needed meant you were loved, you made yourself necessary. If falling apart scared the people you depended on, you tucked it in. Over time, it became automatic. You stopped noticing you were choosing it because it stopped feeling like a choice. It just became the way you moved through the world, into adulthood, into every new room. But here's the part I want to be honest with you about. There is a cost, and I want to name it, not to make you feel worse, but because I think part of you already knows it, and has never had anyone say it out loud. The cost is intimacy. When you are always the one holding, you never get to be be the one held. When you are always the one who is fine, the people around you are never given the chance to show up for you because you don't ask. Because you have become so fluent in managing that vulnerability feels like an impossible language now, one you once knew and slowly forgot. And underneath that, the specific loneliness of the woman who is surrounded by people who need her and simultaneously has no one she can fully lean on. Not because no one would show up, but because she cannot make herself ask. And so she carries it. Here is what's also true. What you built is real. The steadiness under pressure, the ability to see what needs to be done, the emotional regulation, the forward thinking, the holding of multiple people's realities at once. These are not. They are hard-earned, genuinely rare, and they have served the people you love in ways they may never fully be able to articulate. You were not wrong to build this. You were not weak for needing to. You were responding, brilliantly, completely, to the environment you were given. You did what children do. The work now is not to dismantle what you built. The work is to let yourself know the emergency is over, that you no longer have to earn your place by being the one who needs nothing, that somewhere inside the woman who holds everyone else, there is a woman who is allowed to be held. She has been waiting a long time. She deserves a turn. You were not made of stone. You were just never shown that softness was safe. I want to ask you something, and I want you to take a moment before you answer. When was the first time you remember deciding you had to be the strong one? Not a moment when someone told you that directly, but a moment when you felt it. When something in the room, or in the way someone looked at you, or in what didn't happen when you needed it, taught you that this was your role. How old were you? I want you to know that someone is reading it. If this stayed with you, our next video goes even deeper. The psychology of women who grew up too fast and why they still feel responsible for everyone in the room.